Morning. And welcome. So wonderful to see everyone here. I know it's a bit of a snowy day, but the roads were clear, so it was pretty good. Now, when I was in British Columbia this week, there was snow every day. They're not used to it, so everything was closed. And, I look and I think, Ontario, we'd be like plowing through this, but no. And people don't have shovels like we do, so it's just a different, they don't have the plows coming out like we do. So all of our roads were clear, and that was great. So we're grateful that you're here, that you made the journey, and I know that you'll be blessed today by something that happens here in this space, whether it's during the service, outside of the service, a hug, or something that someone said to you, you will be blessed. And we welcome anyone who's watching online. We're grateful for your presence and your energy as well. And I want to just bring greetings from the Unity Canada Board. So we met for the 3 days and did a lot of planning. And there's some exciting stuff coming down the way that each ministry will be blessed with. And because we're constantly trying to see how can we financially support the ministries with ministry development and such. So there's some things coming down the pipe. And so we bring blessings in appreciation for every ministry across the country for the work that they're doing. So we're grateful. Okay, so we have a few announcements this morning. Glendale Crossing, where we go on a Sunday afternoon and provide the Sunday service for them. And we're there from 2 to about 2:45. So on the 26th, which is next Sunday, we are invited to come and host the service. Pauline is the leader on that, and we're really grateful for that, Pauline. And she likes to have people with her to help hand out the books to the residents, to help sing, because you can imagine some of their voices are kind of quiet. So we bring the energy up on that. And so if you can join us, that would be wonderful. And any questions at all, please ask Pauline. We're having a potluck today and a town hall meeting. And so we invite everyone that's here to stay for that, whether you're new to Unity or you've been coming for a long time, come on and stay for that town hall meeting and hear what's happening. And it's an important meeting. We still have our winter sock drop, and next Sunday is the last Sunday to bring in socks, mitts, gloves, and we put on the tree at the back there, and then they'll be taken to women's and children's, where are they taken to? Sorry. To the shelters? Yeah. So they'll be taken to the shelter, to Inova and the mission services and such. So you are the light, and what I love about our Unity magazine, which comes out every 2 months, is at the beginning there are affirmations for January, and they're each focused on peace and harmony. So I'd like to just affirm some of those affirmations together and let this really land on your heart. So for peace, peace flows like a river throughout my being. Together. Peace flows like a river throughout my being. I am the harmonious action of divine love. I am the harmonious action of divine love. For wholeness, every part of my body, mind, and spirit celebrates divine life. Before you affirm that, just take that in. Every part of my body, mind, and spirit celebrates divine life. Together. Every part of my body, mind, and spirit celebrates divine life. In gratitude, I see abundant blessings and possibilities. Together. In gratitude, I see abundant blessings and possibilities. And the last one, my every prayerful thought blesses the world with peace. Together. My every prayerful thought blesses the world with peace. And let's just feel that energy. When we speak affirmations of truth, it really wakes up the energy in our body. And we really start to vibrate at a higher level. And it's a joyful thing. So you'll find those in the Daily Word every month. Okay, so let's stand and sing.
I saw the light, I saw the light, no more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, so overside, praise the Lord, I saw the light. I was so aimless, I filled with fear, I wouldn't let my fear appear. like a blind man got back inside. Praise the Spirit, I saw the light, I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no story to shine. Praise the Spirit, I saw the light. I was a fool to wander astray. Straight is the gate and long is the way. Now I have traded one for the ride. Praise the Spirit, I saw the light, I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Spirit, I saw the light.
Good morning to all the brave souls that made it out today. Yay! Unity's foundation is affirmative prayer. That means Unity defines prayer as the most highly accelerated mind action known. It is an affirmation of truth and a communion between you and all that is. Through prayer, the mind is renewed and circumstances transformed. If you wish prayer for someone else or for yourself, you are invited to use our prayer box, but put a first name only on a piece of paper and place it in the box. No need to explain because Divine Mind is all-knowing. It will be prayed over here at Unity by our prayer angels for 30 days and then sent on to Silent Unity for additional prayer. Remember, 24 hours a day, you can call 1-800-NOW-PRAY to reach Silent Unity, where people have been praying with and for people for over 130 years. If you wish private one-on-one prayer or the sharing of healing energy, our prayer chaplain, Pauline, will be available in the prayer room, which is off of the fellowship room, following this service. Just take a seat on the chair in front of her and she will pray with you. Today's prayer chaplain is Pauline. Please come forward and lead us in prayer.
I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes, to breathe in to your heart space, to breathe in all of life, all of the wondrous opportunities and possibilities of life. And in that life-filled heart space, we know that we are love. Today we hold in special prayer all of the ministries in Unity, especially those here in Canada, but also those all over the world. We also hold in prayer the intentions that you have for those who may not be with us today. I invite you to whisper those intentions now. In our world right now are raging fires in Australia, and firefighters doing their best to try and put out the fires, risking their lives. We hold in prayer all those people in Australia who have lost their homes, who are living in fear, all the firefighters who are helping them to survive and helping to put out the fires. We also hold in prayer all the medical people, all those who are caring for injured animals, hurt and dying people, that they may have the strength and the faith to fulfill their mission. We remember today all of the prayer services and the faiths that are celebrating at this time, and we send out our prayerful respect and love to all of those faiths. Let us also hold in prayer and in love
the homeless people right here in our city of London, in this frigid weather, who may be striving to stay warm or to have food. May we reach out with love and caring to everyone we can. And with all of these intentions in mind, we say, so it is. Amen.
And now for a message from the Daily Word brought to you by Silent Unity. Filled with positive expectation, I expect only good. Unity Minister Eric Butterworth writes in Spiritual Economics, "You do not receive what you want. You do not receive what you pray for, not even what you say you have faith in. You will always receive what you actually expect." Each morning, even when clouds cover the sky, I expect the sun to rise. When I drift off to sleep, I expect to awaken refreshed. When I express the desires of my heart in prayer, are my expectations limited, or do I expect only good? As I pray, if I discover a thought of lack or limitation, I remember that I am a living expression of God, heir to all that God is. I release the limiting thought gently and without judgment. Freed from thoughts of limitation, I expect only good, and my good comes to me. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Luke 12, verse 32.
Sometimes you go to church on Sunday morning and you leave there feeling fine. But then comes Monday morning and your life feels out of line. Then the rest of the week is all the same. You go right along. If you don't want to live that way, please listen to this song. 'Cause we should live by the Spirit every day. Should live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, shine the light, show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. Now the Spirit gives us wisdom to know what we should do, and faith can give us courage to see and challenge through. But it's up to us to fill the cup in the best that we can be. So make the choice and raise your voice, sing along with me, 'cause we should live by the Spirit every day. We should live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, move the light and show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. There is so much that we can learn, something we can teach. The best way to a happy life is to practice what we preach. So buckle down, buckle up, let love speak you along. Spirit wants what's best for you, so join me in this song. 'Cause we should live by the Spirit every day. Live our faith in every way. From Sunday through to Saturday, shine the light and show the way. Live by the Spirit every day. Live by the Spirit every day. Yeah, we should live by
here we go. The Pope travels to America. This big black limousine rolls up in the front. He's like really excited to get in this limousine, and he gets in and he's like, I've never driven a limousine. So he says to the driver, do you think I could drive? The driver's a little bit flabbergasted. You know, he's supposed to pick up the Pope and be very gentle and respectful, and he's like asking to drive, and he decides, well, yes, you can drive. So they switch places, and the Pope gets behind the wheel, and he's wheeling out of the airport, and he's got a little bit of a heavy foot on the gas, and before you know it, there's sirens coming up behind him. He rolls down the window, gets out his passport, gets out his driver's license, and the officer comes up, and he looks, and the Pope says to him, officer, how can I help you? And one look at the Pope, and the officer runs to the back, and he calls into headquarters, boss, I've got it, just pulled over a huge celebrity. What do I do? And his boss says, well, who did you pull over? He says, I don't know, but he's got the Pope driving for him. Okay, so today is about getting comfortable with the unknown. And as a church community, we're in that place of the unknown, and perhaps in your personal life, you are there as well. So in the current Unity magazine, which has been published since 1889 and is called Unity Magazine Today, there is an article, like so many articles over the 131 years, that has a very relevant message from a Unity minister. And her name is Reverend Kelly Isola. Some of you have had experience with Reverend Kelly at the last Unity conference. And I wanted to share from this article. And it's called Back to the Future of Unity. So she writes, for the past 15 years, I've traveled the country working with churches and engaging in interfaith work with people from all walks of life. My work requires me to stay current with what is happening in the world of religion, faith, and church. This means keeping myself educated through data as well as stories of what people believe, especially the evolving beliefs emerging around church and spirituality. Most people recognize that church and its Sunday service in its current form are dying in many ways. Many religious communities are shrinking. Even the megachurches from which the outside appear to be thriving, carry the same struggles when you look within. This doesn't mean Sunday service is going away altogether, but it does mean our world has changed, and church is no longer just a Sunday proposition. Church is and needs to be an all-week activity, often without four walls. We hear the stories about our Unity co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. They never wanted churches, and yet they ordained hundreds of people, essentially making Unity a sacramental organization. The Fillmores wrote very little about what they intended for Unity and for its future. But Charles Fillmore is quoted in a 1939 issue of Unity magazine saying, "The present turbulence in the world is the dissolution of the age of materialism. There will be a terrific struggle to preserve the old civilization with its 1,001 shortcomings, but it will disappear, and out of the wreckage will rise a civilization, a worldwide brotherhood based upon trust in God and understanding of God's law. It has no external social or religious organization, but its members are ruled by the principles universally understood as Christian." And don't we see this vision unfolding today, 80 some odd years later? These universal principles were repeated over and over by the Fillmores. In every lesson Charles spoke and every prayer that Myrtle wrote, to go inside, discern truth for ourselves, and demonstrate it by doing the work needed in our world. This is another way of inviting us to stay relevant while gently holding our core to our core of what is most sacred. I think she's written something very powerful and very relevant. Our the Fillmores focused on principle and its daily practice. They encourage people to take the next step beyond prayer to demonstrate truth in all of their actions. This message is relevant today, and perhaps even more so today with the way that the world is changing and the way that church is changing. Perhaps now is the time for us to take church and our teachings way beyond the walls. We do some of that, but we are being invited to go even further and to do even more. Reverend Kelly writes that the root of the word relevant means to lessen or to lighten, and it means what is pertinent to the matter at hand. But the root is to lessen or lighten, which is very relevant to us today, to lighten our load and to put our focus on what are our basic needs. Well, Unity started churches, unlike the Fillmores' plan to have no churches. But because people want to gather, we have a basic need to gather together in community, to study what we have read or heard, to study the teachings. And because at the time, of course, for hundreds of years, there was a model of church, people gathering together in a building, then we naturally went with what we were familiar with. And churches started to form out of unity. But what's been working for hundreds of years is perhaps not going to work going into the future the same way that we have known it to be. So we need to understand, what are our basic needs? What do we really need to focus on? What's the core? Well, I think it's community. To be with like-minded people. We love to gather together with like-minded people to talk and discuss the teachings, whether it's on a Sunday morning, a Wednesday class, however we do that. To pray together. I think we want to be uplifted by each other's prayers. And to feel like we make a difference. That's becoming more and more important in our society, especially our younger people. They want to know they're making a difference. A basic need is for us to put our feet to our principles and to thrive in every way, including financially, so that neither the board of a community or the congregation feel burdened. And then we can take a look at what we need to let go of, to lighten our load and still meet our needs. It makes me think of the minimalist movement and also the tiny houses. I don't know if you've ever watched those programs, right, with the tiny houses. Well, if you know Reverend Gary Simmons and his wife, Reverend Jane Simmons, they are in Washington State, and they have just built a tiny house. They have quite a bit of property, as I understand it, and they built a tiny house on this property. People are letting things go. They're looking around and recognizing, what do I really need? What are my needs, and what outside of me will really support that? I know I've been decluttering in my home for the last 2-3 years, really looking at, do I need this? Would someone else be able to use this? I've been looking at cupboards and just everything around me, clothes, my closet. How do I feel when I walk in my closet? Does it feel cluttered? Is there too much there? So I've been letting go of what really, it's like the Maria Canado. I'm not going to get her name right, but she writes about joy. If it doesn't bring you joy, don't keep it. Let it go. And it's the same with letting go of our financial burdens. You know, I'm going to be calling Rogers soon because it's been on my mind for a while, but you know those phone calls, they can take quite a while, so I haven't put the energy into it. But my Rogers bill is like, it's quite a bit. I've got 3 cell phones on there because our daughter is on there with us, like a group plan. We've got our cable, the phone. It's like $500 a month. Whoa, yeah. And so I better phone them because I want to just reduce that financial debt. And then I look at what am I streaming? I've got Netflix, and I've got cable, and I've got Prime, and I've got Crave. It's like, you know, we're all, I think, looking at how can we reduce our financial debt and responsibility. And we do that personally, and we do that in community as well. Keeping in mind, what are our basic needs? What is really important? So she suggests that we focus on our basic needs, not the form. We may not have any idea what our spiritual community will look like, but we will begin living our preferred future now when we start looking at what can we let go of. She talks about being relevant, understanding that everything changes, and as the rate of change increases, we don't need to speed up to hang on. So, you know, things are changing and we're like, I don't like that, so I'm going to hold on so tight to hold it back. But we can't do that. Did you know that every cell that's in your body today wasn't there 8 years ago? Did you know that when you go to sleep at night, billions and billions of cells are dying? And billions of new cells are being created? Wouldn't it be crazy if we tried to get in the way of this creative process and hold on to those old cells? But we need to realize that the old has to die in order for the new to be created and the new to come forth. And with change, with the unknown, comes fear, right? We fear that what we love and what we hold sacred will be lost. And I've heard that fear from many of you as we're going through this time of change. That the church that we know and love is changing. And we don't like it. We want things to stay the same. We may find ourselves longing for the good old days. Oh, remember when? But what if we could reach into the past and the present and take what we hold sacred and reverent and bring that into the now moment and let go of the rest? To do that, we have to realize if we have any sacred cows. Well, if you know what a sacred cow is, it's something that is like that picture has always been on the wall over there. We cannot take that picture down because it's been on that wall for 6 years now that we've been here. Well, we're trying to rigidly hold on to something that really, is it a sacred something, or is it just that we don't want things to change? And so we look at the sacred cows. So our music can be a sacred cow. I know that until the last while, we moved out the peace song, and we brought in I Choose Love, and there was some pushback on that. Where's the peace song? Gotta have the peace song, gotta have it every Sunday. Well, is it that we're being rigid because we think it has to be that way, or is it really something that we hold so sacred that we don't want to let go of? We need to look at the way we're doing things and what is sacred. The chairs, do the chairs always have to look this way? To some of you, yes. To others, just change it, I don't care. The time of the service, the time of the service can be important. Could we change that? Some people would say no, some would say yes. The day of the week that we gather together, does it have to be Sunday? Some would say yes, some would say no. We just need to figure out which of the things that we think are sacred, are they sacred, respected and honored, or is it that we're rigidly holding on to something that maybe is no longer relevant? It's an interesting idea to look at. You know, it appears that the unity principles that we hold so dear have truly become universal, mainstream. I watched Joel Osteen, and I think, when I first started listening to him, he's unity. He must have a unity friend that's really influencing him. But then I come to realize that, yes, on the Sunday morning, that 30-minute talk, that lesson, sounds very unity, but behind that there's a lot of non-unity as well. So our unity message, though, is really getting out into the masses. Our principles such as there's only one power and one presence has been picked up by many religions. The idea that we are each divine, magnificent expressions of the divine has been picked up by some, not all, but it's prevalent certainly in New Thought churches and maybe the United Churches and others. The idea that our thoughts and feelings create our world is something that's really out there. It's really been picked up. Science is even out there saying, yep, that's true. So many organizations, religions, have picked up what we've thrown down, what we've put out there. So we can say, yay, our unity teachings have really, we've accomplished the task to a great degree of getting our message out there. Yay for us. Yay for us. What it means, though, is that people don't have to come to unity to get that message. We are no longer as unique as we once were. So perhaps, because our message has infiltrated so many religions, perhaps our next step is not only the teaching of our principles, but the demonstration of our truth. Yes, that's perhaps what we're being called to do, to get out and really demonstrate what it is we believe. Charles Fillmore used to say that he'd be in a lecture and he would say something one week and then he would say something different, contrary to that the next. And a student would say, Mr. Fillmore, that's not what you said last week. And he would say, I have had something new revealed to me from Spirit. And he was always open and comfortable with the unknown, knowing that something great is always revealed in the unknown. So today I'm challenging us to be open to what shows up, to get comfortable with the unknown, to step out of our fear and into the beauty of what is being revealed to us together as we work together to create something new for Unity of London. Charles Fillmore challenged us when he said in 1923, God only does what man says he shall do. That's a big statement. God is our servant. That's even bigger. Did you ever think of that? That this wonderful Spirit of God, out of which everything is made, is here at all times, is always present with us, and we are using it. It's here. It responds to us. We don't need to wait for God to give us an answer to something. We need to go within and call that out. That's where it is. That's where it is. So Reverend Kelly finishes her article by writing, we are long since past the time of focusing on how to get people into the building. Just stop for a moment. Because that's like a big focus, right? Gotta get more people, more people, more people. Well, if we believe in attraction, we will attract people by who we are and what we do and how we show up. So we're long past the time of focusing on how to get people into the building. Now is the time to get people off their affirmations and out of the building. I love it. She's calling us to action, calling us to use what we know. You know, people will come to Unity and say, oh, I got everything I need and I don't need to come anymore. And I say to them, then come and share what you have discerned from the teachings and share it and speak it and live it and show us, model it for us. Be a part of that. Unity teaches that God is life, love, beauty, and goodness. And we see evidence in it so much of what we encounter in the world. Often in a state of meditative silence, we may feel God's presence as life that infills us. The love that we are. The good that God is may seem easy to understand until we encounter something that doesn't fit the pattern of our closely held beliefs. And it may be then that we start seeing through our spiritual lens dimly because we're asking the question, how do we explain many of the events in our lives and in the world? Excuse me, in our church community, especially those that we don't welcome. So there are many unknowable things in our life. And as we allow room for the unknown and unknowable, we allow our faith and our glimpses of what is to be enlarged through our spiritual practices of prayer and meditation, through coming together as a community and brainstorming solutions. Yes, it can be scary. It's unknown. Remember, we have a great expression in unity, that with God, say it with me, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. It's not a time to be afraid, but it's a time to bring forth the greatness within each and every one of us, to create something magnificent right here for all of us, for our community, and for the world. Yes. Let's take that into meditation.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
We just relax into our chair. Let your feet be on the ground. And in the last pre-service meditation, I was talking about hand mudras. And a hand mudra is a way to focus on something. And if you have your eyes open, to do the hand mudra for faith, it looks like this. We intertwine our fingers. Okay, it's sort of like that old, here's the church, here's the people, where's the steeple. Okay, so you bring these two up. And it's just going to look like that. So you bring these two pointer fingers up and your thumbs. And that's the mudra for faith. And we hold that to our heart, if that's comfortable for you to do. We close our eyes and we get comfortable. We let our shoulders relax down and just let your jaw relax and your eyes soften. Sounds funny, but when you focus on it, it happens. Just soften. You take a deep breath in and let it out. In and out. And we can affirm, I have faith in the unknown. Together, I have faith in the unknown. Just think in our creation story how out of seemingly nothing, there is the story of everything being created from nothing. So at one point it looked like nothing, and now it's everything. And so we walk that journey as a spiritual community and in our personal lives. What is the gift in the unknown? All this change going on around me, what does it mean? What can I have faith in except all that is, that energy from which we are created from, that moves in and through and as us, dances us, sings us, works through us, prays through and as us. So we open up to that energy and just become aware If Spirit has a message for you, a whispering to just remind you of something about, maybe there's an unknown that you have a fear about, just bring it to the surface and surround it with light. Could be the pink flame, the pink color for love. It could be that you're surrounding it in a yellow color for wisdom, divine wisdom, that you're receiving ideas, you're open to those ideas, they're all within you, let them bubble up. What is it that you need to move through this time of the unknown? To let any fear go and to trust and have faith. So we listen. The unknown has gifts for us. Are we willing to be open and receptive to receive those gifts? Are we willing to be able to discern from the highest part of ourselves the beauty of the gift? So for a moment, we just hold this community in prayer and love in its space of the unknown. And what's revealed to us during our meeting this afternoon, and we can see blessings everywhere, in everything. And that in our personal lives, that sometimes we don't need to know. We just need to trust and have faith. Our next book study is about radical acceptance. Radical acceptance. And so we take a deep breath in. Let it out. And together we say, and so it is. And really mean this one. And so I let it be. And so I let it be. Amen.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
again, Reverend Laurie. I'm in awe of where do you get that endless supply of hilarious jokes? And thank you for challenging us to become comfortable with the unknown. That is a real challenge that we can take with us into the coming week. Now it's our time for giving and receiving your tithes and offerings. Our unity principles teach us we are one with divine source, and so we give, not to source, but as source. Giving has been described as a spiritual practice of radical generosity, giving to what we wish to see flourish. Giving puts us in the flow of divine abundance. By the back door of the sanctuary on the wall, you will find intention cards. These may also be placed in the offering bag. This week, our prayer angels will uphold your intentions for what you want to achieve, either as a plan for your day or your life. Now, let us affirm our prosperity together by singing our offering blessing.
Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and so with you. Well, here's a song that I thought would fit in well with Lori's message today. It's by Janice Stanford, the Whole Word Before What I do if I knew that I could not fail? I believe with the wind always fill up my sail. How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trust in the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where fools and dreamers dare to tread and never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? If we're all meant to do what we secretly dream, what would you ask if you knew you could have anything? Like the mighty oak speaks in the heart of the sea, miracles in you and me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where fools and dreamers dare to tread, never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? If I were brave.
So we go to our heart space. We are grateful for this energy that shows up in the form of money. And the money that prospers this community, both by our receiving it in to do all that's ours to do, and by our giving it individually, trusting and knowing we cannot outgive all that is God, the universe, whatever name we put to that energy, we cannot outgive it. And so for this, we are so grateful. Amen. I just want to share that a couple things. When I was on the plane coming back from Calgary to London, I was in the exit row. I was the third seat over, and so the stewardess comes up, or flight attendant, I guess now, and says to the fellow sitting by the window, so here's all the instructions, and when you're sitting at the exit row, you hope you're not called upon to leap forward and try and get that door off. But this fellow said, oh, no problem. I've been on a flying every month. I'm always in this seat. And besides, I'm a retired firefighter. And I thought, oh, okay, that makes me feel really good. So when we trust in the gifts of the people around us, together, we're all taken care of. And the other is, yes, I'm back and I'm leaving. so I probably won't see you until Palm Sunday, which is the first Sunday in April, since Bob and I go off to Naples, Florida for February and March. And how grateful I am, truly, that Larry or whoever it was that found Tithely, because we would go away before and then we'd come back and try and remember to make up for all the weeks we were away. Now I can just get that little message that says, thank you for giving to Unity of London. I get it every Sunday morning. And so I just know that I am giving while I'm away with ease, how easy it is to use the Tithely app to give. And Bob does the same thing. And so, yeah, that feels good. Feels good. Okay, let's stand and sing.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. Choice unites us, let this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
And part of my work before I left was to line up all the speakers for February and March, and they'll be introducing a book that I suggested that is Radical Acceptance. And it talks about being enlightened by living our everyday, ordinary life. That, to me, is a powerful message, that we can be enlightened just living our day-to-day life. And really, that's very powerful. So, yeah, it requires having faith, being willing to step into the unknown, and trust will be cared for. That's always the way. So we pray a prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. And the presence of God watches over me. I am presence. Wherever I am, God is. I am divine. Yay, God.
There's a paper towel.
Here's the word of what unity can offer. Spread the word of the message that you heard. Spread the word of the blessings that are waiting. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word, spread the word of all the things we shared this morning. Spread the word that you're surrounded you by love. Spread the word. And our doors and hearts are open. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. To anyone who's lost and lonely, spread the word. We extend the hand of love, spread the word. Spirit welcomes all who join us. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. unity can offer. Spread the word. Let we believe in peace and love. Spread the word. And our hearts are always open. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word. Spread the word, spread the word, spread the word.
Morning. I just connected with your eyeballs this morning. Oh, I haven't met you before. I'm Catherine. Nice to meet you. And I hope you'll hear something I want you to hear. How are you today?